I just want to cut to the chase. What can you say to all your female fans out there that are dying to know what is going on with you right now?
I don't know. Yeah, I do very little. Very, very little. I love this mystery that just getting like famous, everyone thinks you're some kind of enigma afterwards.
Right.
And it's like, and it doesn't matter what you do. You can deny it as much as you want, but it's like people are. I think it's like a kind of. It's because there's no like. I guess like royalty or something anymore. Anything which has kind of got this kind of. There's no one with a lifestyle which is untouchable. So they kind of elevate famous people into this thing. And so you're like, yes, I read first edition Shakespeare and do all this stuff. I don't do anything.
You don't read first edition Shakespeare? You don't quote soliloquies from
I read something in some magazine the other day which said I did actually do that. Like I read soliloquies from Henry V by candlelight.
Well, you're very brooding.
I know, just the brooding. And also brooding as well. The more I see that, brooding is actually a negative adjective.
Is it?
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's just looking kind of... like it's just pouting about stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, oh great, why has brooding become this complimentary?
Yeah. It kind of says it's like you're spiritless or something.
Yeah, it just looks like you're a kind of whiny little girl.
And Rob, you are clearly not a whiny little girl.
I am really. That's why they say I'm brooding.
You know, obviously, I mean, it's hard. A while ago, I read in an article that regarding your newfound fame, you said, quote, I'm trying not to drown. I guess I'm not the type of guy cut out to do a franchise. I'm not much of a crowd person. What do you do to escape the crowd, and what do you do to deal with that intensity of the crowd that is always surrounding you when you're out and about?
The best thing to do is just to kind of remain, your actual personality should always remain relatively unknown. It's difficult in this because it's a very audience-friendly series. You have to, in some ways, also because there's a lot of young people who watch it. I mean, and they're always very pleasant. So you can't just be, horrible to people unless you're really obsessed with your portrayal of yourself. But I guess yes, trying to stay as blank as possible.
It's hard when people know you so well from the franchise, or what they think they know of you, but then they meet you in person, or they see you in interviews, and they want to get some insight into the real Rob. But you have to feel sort of protected too, because you don't want to take away from your character.
I mean, there's very little. I mean,
there's really very little to the real Rob.
Yeah, that's the lucky thing. It makes it a lot easier to remain an enigma when you don't even know who you are yourself. That's
an interesting statement that you just said, though. Do you still feel like you're discovering who you are?
Oh yeah, Jesus! If you know who you are when you're 23, you're a complete idiot. You're just a slug. I mean, you should never know who you are, and that's the good thing about doing acting as a job. That's your job to kind of, try and mine parts of your character that you don't know about and other people don't know about. I mean, people will always have the ability to surprise themselves, I think. And if you're not surprising yourself in life, then you might as well die.
Go away. What do you think from your real life have you brought to the character of Edward?
I guess at the beginning, like chronic fear of commitment. I mean, that's a lot of ways what I see the stories about. But the fear of commitment. I mean, it's like, I think it's a very real thing. Even if you're totally in love with someone, you're still, it's a relationship, young people relationship. It's always so. They're very sort of interesting and complex, and I think that's I've always found that interesting. Why guys are terrified of doing that. I mean, and especially in New Moon, which is the one I always connect to the most, where you've always, the more you love someone, the more you see, the more you find fear and fault within yourself, which I think is what makes it the most interesting book. It's the most interesting love story. It's
a very intense love story in this film, and I think some fans are nervous because they feel like they're not going to see as much of Edward as they want to see. What do you say to them?
There's something about when Edward appears as an apparition, it's not a ghost telling Bella what to do. It's a figment. Bella is going mad. And if that happened to you, if a boy breaks up with you and suddenly starts haunting you, you'd be terrified. It's a terrifying experience. And we tried to. It's difficult to do in these movies because of people's impression of Edward. I mean, he's supposed to be a romantic hero. But I mean, we tried to make a lot of that as eerie as we could. It's difficult to do whilst maintaining the relationship. And I mean, I would have gone as far away from that as possible. I mean, I wanted to look like she's having a breakdown. I mean, it should have been terrifying.
This film has spawned a resurgence in vampires. How cool is it to know that you're part of that?
That's crazy. That's just the weirdest thing to me. That like you just see other things coming out which are like exactly the same as Twilight, and you're just like, how are you getting away with this?
Right.
No, it's strange. Like, who knew that there was a big enough audience for like everything, and in every shape or form? That like vampires as a subject could just take such an enormous chunk out of the entertainment audience.
Yeah.
It's like all at the same time.
The fan craziness when you just go out on your own is, aside from publicity events and things like that, but when you just want to go out and be a 23-year-old guy, it's so intense. And the paparazzi following you around is so intense. How do you deal with that? It's got to be so incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, only in that I care about my career and stuff, and I care about the future. If I just, it's very easy to say, oh, who cares? Just deal with it. And like, why does it matter if you get a photo? You just live your life, and then, then just that's the way your life is. Just accept it. But I mean, it's living. You can't live your life with like there is no way to do it. You can't. If you have 50 cameras there, that's not living your life. That's posing for photographs. I mean,
true.
And also, I have a chronic problem with immediately pouting like, whenever a camera's there.
You automatically put pout on?
And it gets old pretty quick. I've been noticing it myself. I've got to invent some new facial expressions.